All right, guys, good to be back with you once again. It's Baseball Stars time again, and we're going to go ahead and just jump straight back into this. As you can see, it's playing me a little bit of the demo at the beginning, as it usually does, and so we'll go ahead and hop on in, just push the start button, and then you go back to our wonderful screen, and we go back and we view our team, and it's just like nothing happened, isn't it? So we'll take a quick look over here. We're going to change the name here first of all, and you probably have an idea of what we're going to do. Now I just have to make sure I actually learn how to spell. And so Snoopy's not exactly going to look quite like a dog, although I don't know, with eyes that look like that, maybe it's kind of close. So that's what we have going on next here. This is going to be one of the next guys that we're going to try to sort of push up. Now I'm going to take a quick look and see what did everybody say about the batting order and everything that we're looking at. So let's see what we can figure out. One of the things that somebody had mentioned is that, and this is true for Lucy, we do need some better running statistics, and we also need some better hitting statistics. I think that she's probably one of the ones that we're going to focus on next in terms of pumping up. We do have to worry a little bit about Snoopy. Everybody else, for the most part now, has, I'm looking chiefly at Prestige. Everybody else has Prestige that's actually pretty good. I guess Franklin we might want to pump up. But for Lucy, we definitely do want to get her running up and probably get the hitting and batting component actually would both be really, really nice. So we'll see what we can do. Let's just go ahead, though, and continue playing. So this is going to be game number 20. Amazing how fast time flies, isn't it? So we're going to do a little bit of a lineup change here, going again off of the advice that has come over time. If you're interested in sort of changing things around a little bit, let me know what you think, and I'll do my best to try to make your wishes come true. Yeah, I think that the recommendation was that we would have Violet playing second base and Lucy in left field, and then we'll probably change the order a little bit so that Violet, who actually has better batting stats than Linus, is going to be the cleanup hitter. So I would say it's a pretty formidable looking lineup, at least in my opinion. And we'll just go ahead and get this one on the way. Just making sure everything's recording right, and it is, so we'll go ahead and get going. All right. So if you haven't seen it yet, you can go check out the other video that I uploaded late last night, where we have the first game of the 1919 season with Diamond Mine Baseball. I actually did the first two games. It's kind of a longer video as a result. But if you're interested in listening to my commentary and all this other stuff, that might be something good to sort of check out. That one's done a little bit more in a sort of pseudo-radio style commentary. And I can tell you something about that, since I did 2 games in a row without a break, which was probably not a great idea. After a little while, your mouth gets kind of tired. So I don't know if I actually would recommend having other people do this or not. It might not be the way that you want to go about things if you're going to make your own video or whatever. And there's a little base hit for us. So 1919 is a real interesting season when you get into it. We're going to have another game. I hope I'll be able to do it today. We'll see what happens in terms of time commitments and stuff like that. If so, though, the next game that we have in the series is going to be we're going to have the Boston Red Sox and the New York Yankees. Apologies, I just realized I did something wrong with the last video for the hockey channel, but it's alright, it hasn't been uploaded yet. We can go and change that when we need to. So the next game in that 1919 season is going to feature Babe Ruth, of course, and as you know, Babe Ruth was the big star of the 1919 season and was an even bigger star in 1920. So I'll give you a little bit of a preview of this, and I didn't realize this until I was doing research, right? So what happened is I noticed that, as most people have noticed, the first game in 1919 is between the Brooklyn Robins and the Boston Braves. They played a doubleheader for the first game of the season, and it was on April 19th. Well, if you know anything about New England, you know that April 19th is Patriots Day. It was not the traditional Patriots Day. I think traditionally it was like this third Monday. That was really bad of me, wasn't it? It was the third Monday, I want to say, of April. And then eventually they changed it to just April 19th. And I thought that was going to be outside, and I guess I probably should have swung at that one. So 2 men out. 2 players out, I guess we should say, because we have men and women on the team. Anyway, so in 1919, of course, because the 1918 season had ended early because of the war, there was not a lot of clarity as to, you know, how much interest there was going to be nationally for baseball. And so the owners decided to go back to 140-game schedule, which is what they had done back in the 1890s. And so they went back to 140 games temporarily for the one season. Which is why 1919 only has 140 games per team. They were originally not going to start the season until April 23rd. But the problem, of course, was that traditional Patriots Day doubleheader. So it had been tradition in Boston to have a doubleheader on the 19th of April, going back to at least 1902. Maybe earlier than that. It's a little bit harder for me to find exactly what was going on. And we get Paul out. As long as we can get Paul out, we're going to be okay. It's a little bit harder for me to figure out exactly what was going on, you know, in like certain seasons of the 19th century, because you don't always have like easily accessible schedules. But I do know that as far back as 1902, that Patriots Day doubleheader was a thing. 1902 is interesting, by the way, because both the Red Sox and the Boston National League team were at home at the same time, on the same day. The American League team had 1 game, and so the Braves had 2, and that's where I think the tradition of the doubleheader actually originally comes from. It was sort of a competitive thing back in those days. Anyway, so in 1919, they decided to have this doubleheader specially for the Braves so they could get that Patriots Day audience. That's the reason why they play 2 games, and the rest of the season doesn't start until April 23rd. Now, what does this have to do with anything pertinent? Well, it turns out that there were all sorts of articles in the newspapers at that time about Babe Ruth. The reason why is because the Red Sox had a series in Baltimore, and Ruth hit something like 6 home runs in 2 games. So we're going to see a little bit more about that in today's video when I do the introductory part. And my little gasp of, oh, whoops, I forgot, is because I forgot to put in the introductory part to this hockey video that I just spent, you know, about a half hour making. That happens sometimes. So we're all imperfect, right? We all make mistakes. But you're going to want to check out today's 1919 video, or tomorrow's. Hopefully it'll come out today, though, because you're going to want to learn a little bit more about Babe Ruth and spring training, cranking home runs. And I mean, this really was a big deal. So the story behind Ruth learning how to play the outfield is that, of course, he was a pitcher when he came up. He was a fairly good hitting pitcher. He had a couple of years with a couple of home runs, going back to, I believe, 1916. But if you look at him in 1917 and so on, it doesn't look like he's going to be like an amazing, like, you know, best of all time type power hitter. What happened is in 1918, the Red Sox wound up having some problems because of injuries. And because of that, Ruth ended up being asked to play first base one day and socked a home run. And then I think the next day he goes out and plays in the outfield or something like that and hits another home run. And so they started to put him in the lineup and eventually had him start hitting fourth. So back before those days, Ruth would hit ninth in the lineup, just like a normal pitcher. So eventually they have Ruth hitting, fourth in the lineup basically all the time, and then he would spend his time when he wasn't pitching playing in the outfield, and that's kind of how Babe Ruth was born. Now, the real interesting thing is I was reading this morning when I was in the gym. I was reading the sporting news from really early in 1919. We're talking like, I think, April 3rd. So this is right after spring training begins in late March. And there's talk from the guy covering the Boston teams about Babe Ruth being upset that they wanted him to pitch. He wanted to play in the outfield so he could go up and hit. I'm not sure exactly how true that was. I think that Ruth actually enjoyed pitching, if I understand right. Bad job, by the way, by Pigpen there, grounding into that double play. And Violet shows him how it's done. She is a great hitter, but she has no speed, so we got to hold her at first. Anyway, so that's kind of what happens there to Babe Ruth, right? He's trying to figure out a way to talk them into letting him continue to hit. That is gone. Linus with the home run, 4-0. That's not bad, is it? So Linus goes yard, 4-0 now, and this might be a pretty easy game, huh? Lucy up next. Lucy, somebody was saying, and I think this is right, we do need to make sure that she has a little bit more speed if we're going to have her be our leadoff hitter. She's making good contact, and that's the reason why I've been thinking about it. Anyway, so Ruth hits the 6 home runs in the spring training game, and that basically makes up everybody's mind. And so as a result, Ruth ends up playing in the outfield in 1919. In spring training that year, I think Ruth had like something like 12 home runs or something like that. I have to go back and read again. I was sort of browsing through this last night while I was looking for other stuff. It's always the problem. You always find all the interesting stuff when you're looking for something else, you know. So you're like, oh, this is interesting. What am I going to do to save it so that I can use this again? Anyway, but yeah, Ruth had quite a few home runs in spring training, and in fact, they were saying that it's a shame that they didn't count for the regular season. I mean, because he almost would have set the record in spring training for most home runs in the season. That's the sort of hitter this guy was. Alright, we're just going to use left field 1, as long as he's still on the team. Probably should have been hit by that pitch. That would have been a good one to get nailed by. So anyway, that's sort of where Ruth comes from in 1919. There's this sort of idea that I think is kind of prevalent even to this day in baseball, that Ruth was kind of like nobody who came from nowhere, and that's not true. I mean, obviously, you know, when Jack Dunn went and found him from the orphanage, you know, in whatever year, 1913, 1914 or whatever, he knew who he was. Well, I think Babe Ruth was actually playing prep or something like that. I have to go back and look. I did a blog article on this a little while ago. I have to go back and take a look and sort of remember all of this stuff. But the thing that's really interesting about the Babe is that they knew that he was going to be a big hitter pretty early on. It's just I don't think anybody fully realized what his capabilities were at the major league level until that spring training. I think that's when people started to realize that something special was happening there. Now, the real fun part about Ruth is that in 1919, most of Ruth's home runs were actually away from Fenway Park. You see, Fenway Park, back in those days, was actually like an extreme pitcher's ballpark. In fact, at least as far as home runs are concerned. The other thing that's funny is that Ruth hit, 29 home runs in 1919. The Red Sox as a team hit 33, I think. So, like, nobody else hit a home run on the team. It was all the Babe. That's not exactly a great Boston Red Sox team if you're interested in looking through and doing all the history and stuff like that. So we'll see how they do in the replay, but you know, with Ruth, you never know how you're going to do when you got a guy like that on your team. So there you have it. Here comes Pigpen again, speaking of Babe Ruth. As long as you don't swing at the balls, only swing at the strikes, you'll be okay. I was talking a little bit earlier about Baseball Stars 2 and its impact on Ken Griffey Jr. Presents Major League Baseball. This game actually has a sort of an impact as well. A lot of the pitching and hitting strategies in this game are the same as they are in that game. Anyway, Pigpen does nothing for us, and so we get to go back down here to this half inning. Anyway, so that's sort of, you know, the way that this channel will continue to go. We're going to have a whole bunch of baseball history and baseball randomness in addition to these games and all this other good stuff. That was a really, really bad pitch on my part. When we get him at first, it's so close, man. If this were Bad News Baseball, we would have had him. Yeah, we need a little bit more. I think that's Violet, actually, the second baseman. We need a little bit more there by the fielders. So we do need to get the fielding improved just a little bit more. But that looked a lot better than our double play attempts earlier on. So we're doing all right. Bottom of the fifth inning, and it's a pretty good time for me to tell you that if you like what you see on this channel, if you're interested in trying to support it, consider being a YouTube member, or consider supporting me on Patreon. There on Patreon you get access to all sorts of old sports video, audio, and other stuff, some of which can be really hard to find in good condition anywhere else. So if you can support me, it'd be great, because that helps keep this alive, and it gives me the ability to make even more quality content for you. Hopefully we can do something to give me the ability to not swing at balls like that one. I shouldn't have swung at that. There we go. Relaxing a little bit, I think, is really the key. And she got too far around on that one. This is kind of popped up, and it was a little bit of nothing. Not good contact, but it's all right. She did have good contact before. Linus had his first home run last time up, so we'll see what we'll have coming from him. Slaps a base hit. You can see, though, none of our players can run very well, so maybe that is the next thing that we want to really improve. Once we're done with 25 games, I think we might do a couple of exhibition games for a little while against some of the other teams before we do one of the big 125 game seasons. Go, 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 go. Yeah, I mean, she's not even close. Not even close. And so, yeah, no, if Lucy wants to, you know, be with the big team, she needs to learn how to run. That's the next thing. But it's kind of nice in this game, right? If you want to, you know, get your players to speed up, you don't put them like on a diet. You don't have them go, you know, train, run around or whatever. You just use some money and buy them more points. Wouldn't it be nice if that would happen in real life? If all you had to do is just spend a little bit of money to buy some points and then you would solve all your problems? All right, you got a third baseman who can't throw to first. It's easy. Just go over and spend, you know, a couple $1,000s and get some points, and there you have it. There's other cool things about this game too, right? There's no injuries, right? You don't have to worry about anybody going down with like a shoulder injury or whatever. You just keep them playing. That's the way it works. All right, so we've almost, by the way, got the gang all here. It's going to take a little while for us to get everybody up and going and to get everything happening the way it should. We will eventually get to the point where it becomes really expensive to start improving and maintaining players and stuff. But we have a little ways to go before we get there, so don't worry about it. And it'll be fun, too, once we get there, because you'll see these players gradually improve. We are getting to the point where we're kind of crushing this team. Some people have said, you know, this means we'll probably crush some of the other teams. Maybe it will, maybe it won't, but we do want to finish what we started. So we want to try to finish all 20 whatever games of the season, 25. And once we're done with that, and once we have these guys sufficiently pumped up, then I think we should be able to be competitive against the other teams. So we'll keep going, and it's going to keep, we'll keep going with this until the bitter end finally comes, and who knows when that's going to be. We have a lot of games to play, though. Like I said before, when we started crushing teams by 10 runs, you know, early in the game, which we haven't really done yet, then we'll start doing double-header type episodes and stuff. This one, I think we've already hit past the halfway point, so we won't do that. But eventually, we do want to do that sort of thing. And of course, the reason why, aside from the pure greed of wanting to have a YouTube video that lasts a little bit longer, right, is also because I want to make sure that we have some like pretty good content and that you kind of get your time's worth instead of just getting like a couple minutes or whatever. That is gone, I think. Go baby go, go baby go, and it's a grand slam, and that should end this game. Well, speak of the devil, we hit a grand slam home run just like that. But like I said, I mean, this is probably going to be about a 20-minute video. Yep, game over. So we are really to that point, aren't we? We are to that point where this team is good enough that we could probably start crushing a bunch of other teams. We have, like I said, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games left against the SNK Crushers, so we will play the rest of this out. 52,000 big ones come our way. What we want to do now, though, is we want to start making some improvements to some of these players. I do like the idea of making a little improvement here to Lucy. We get 4 points, and we'll just put them all in running. Now the next question is, do we want to improve her again or not? Maybe yes, maybe not. I think what we'll do is I think we'll wait for the moment, let's see who else we possibly can improve. Sally and Frida. I think what we will do, though, is we'll improve Snoopy here a couple of times. And exactly how we want to do this. So I think what we'll do is we'll do that first. And then we'll probably give him a little bit of this. So not quite ready yet to the point where we're going to be able to start him, but that gives us a little bit. And then the key is, of course, getting that 15 for prestige, because it's going to help us hopefully earn a little bit more money next time around. Once we're done with that, I'm not sure who we're going to improve next. We'll sort of see what happens. We'll probably improve someone like Shermie next. Again, we'll probably focus first on improving the prestige, and then we'll improve everything else. Just so you know, too, we're not going to have every single player have, you know, this max of like 82, 84, right? 82 for Lucy, 82 for Violet. We're going to have a bunch of players who have maxes as well of like 72, because these guys who had maxes in the 70s, we're not going to get rid of them. We're going to keep them around. But that doesn't mean that we're going to have players with some holes in their game. For example, Pigpen eventually we will improve him. And we have the choice of, like, do we improve the defense? Do we improve everything else? Exactly what do we do? What are we going to play with him in the long term, and so on and so forth. So this is the sort of question that you have as the game continues. So look forward to more of that coming up in the near future. And meanwhile, as far as this one is concerned, we're done with that 6th inning sort of walk-off 10-0 victory. Again, like I said, if we have one that ends before probably the 6th inning, I'll go ahead and play a second game. For this time around, we'll just keep it to the one game, so give you a little bit of your Sunday back, but I have a feeling that this is going to get only better from here. So there you go. Violet wins it with the Grand Slam, and we'll call it a day for now. I'll talk with you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.